Hey everyone, welcome to a new episode of the Iceberg Lounge. We are your hosts, Thomas Single, and with me in chair number 2 is Randy Dobbins.
Hello.
And today we're coming off of a wild week 6 in college football, so we're just going to sit down here in the Iceberg Lounge and go over a few of insane things that happened. But first, let's pause for our sponsor, and when we come back, we're going to be talking about Michigan and Notre Dame. Hey, this is Thomas Single from the Iceberg Lounge, and I'm here to talk to you today about Anchor, the easiest way to make a podcast. Anchor gives you everything you need in one place, and guess what? It's absolutely free, which you can use right from your cell phone or computer just like I do. They even have creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast so it sounds amazing. They'll even distribute your podcast for you. You don't even have to do it yourself. So it can be heard everywhere, from Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and many more. You can even make money from your podcast with minimum listenership. So why don't you download the Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. And we're back. So the first kind of headline we're going to talk about is Michigan and Notre Dame's wins that they had this weekend on late field goals. Did you get to watch any of the two games or any highlights?
No.
Yeah, it seemed like this weekend was the weekend of late field goals. Because not only did Michigan and Notre Dame have this, but obviously Texas A&M had this as well. And it works. You had 3 teams this weekend work and win through it, so I guess you can't really complain on that. So do you think that will be because right now Michigan and Michigan State are in the top 10. I think Michigan is 8, Michigan State is 10. Do you think Michigan might have a chance, or maybe even Notre Dame to this point, have a chance of getting close to the playoffs?
I think so. I think Michigan, if they can win out and get into the Big Ten championship and win, they could.
Yeah.
Because right now, they have this upcoming Saturday. No, they're on the bye week this week.
They are?
Yeah.
Okay.
Michigan next weekend has to play Northwestern at home.
Oh, okay.
Which Northwestern is 2-3.
Okay, that's probably going to be an easy game for them then.
And then the weekend of the November 6th. No, wait. No, October 30th. They play Michigan State.
Okay.
At Michigan State. So that'll determine a lot, because right now in the East Division of the Big Ten, Michigan State is number 1 and Michigan's number 2.
Ooh.
With Ohio State in 3rd place.
Huh, that's a very interesting kind of 1, 2, 3 ranking right there.
because they're all undefeated in conference, so they're all, I think, technically tied for
First.
first.
Hmm. That'll be interesting to see because obviously that's gonna have to break at some point.
Yeah.
So
Then,
let's go ahead.
hold on, I'm having to help my sister with something.
It's all good.
In the West, honestly, Iowa is basically, I was basically sitting alone at the top.
Yeah, I was a beast this
Because
season.
right now, they're the only undefeated team in the Big Ten West.
Yeah, they're doing pretty good right now, considering they're now number 2 in the country.
There's only 3 undefeated teams in the Big Ten: Michigan State, Michigan, and Iowa.
Oh wow!
And let me look at something. Because they gotta play like I said, Michigan on the 30th has to play Michigan State at Michigan State, and then they got after that on the 6th November. No, after that on November 13th they gotta play Penn State.
Okay.
At Penn State, and then their last game they have to play Ohio State.
Yeah, so it's gonna be fleshed out by the end.
And then let me see, Michigan State. They have to play basically the only ranked teams that they play now are Michigan, Ohio State on the November 20th, and then Penn State at home at Michigan State on the 27th of November.
Okay.
And Iowa, let me see. I'm gonna look at their schedule real quick. Yeah, this is going to be a cakewalk for Iowa.
Yeah, like
because they play Wisconsin, who is 2-3, Northwestern, who is 2-3, Minnesota, who is 3-2, Illinois, who is 2-5, and then their last game is Nebraska, who is 3-4.
Yeah, so it looks like their next big opponent will be in the championship game.
They're basically on a series of cakewalk to the Big Ten championship game in Indianapolis.
And then, honestly, to the playoffs, because right now they're number 2 in the country.
Yeah.
All right, so up next, we're going to be talking about Ole Miss beating Arkansas 52-51.
And I did watch the last probably 30 seconds of this game. And honestly, there was some Arkansas got a touchdown with literally 1 second left.
Oh man.
And then they would have been able to tie it up at 51 with the extra point, but decided to go for 2.
Yeah, why would you do that?
To me, that was a foolish mistake because you could have sent it into overtime and then won at overtime. But then you just kind of screwed yourself, honestly.
Well, it's just like Ole Miss when they went against Alabama. Arkansas kind of messed them up, kind of like Ole Miss did with Alabama, where they wouldn't just kick it off. They would always go on 4th.
Yeah.
And that makes, like, maybe once or twice when it's, looked right to do, but they constantly did it.
Yeah. I want to give you, speaking of Ole Miss, got an interesting stat for you.
All right, bring it on.
This is the first time since October 12th, 2014, that neither Alabama, Clemson or Ohio State is in the 8P top four. And you know what the top four that week was?
What?
You're not going to believe me, but it was Mississippi State, Florida State, Ole Miss, and Baylor in that order.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I forgot. Yeah, now that I remember, Mississippi, the whole state, when it came to major schools, was on fire that season.
Yeah. Because that was the year that Ole Miss beat Bama that for the first time, and then they stormed the field there in Oxford.
Well, I mean, when you beat a team like Alabama, you have to storm the field.
Yeah. And here's something else. That was 113 polls ago. 113 polls ago. And of course the season ended with both Alabama and Ohio State making the playoffs and Ohio State winning the national title.
Oh, yeah. Yep, that was the year they did. Yeah, and so it's just Arkansas, I feel, pulled an Ole Miss. Like, were
They
you
basically
that
shot themselves in
scared?
the foot.
Like, were you that scared of overtime with them
Yeah.
that you just wanted to do that? Because to me, the smartest idea you could do in that scenario, I mean, unless their defense was just letting you in all day, which obviously they really wasn't. I mean, what's the kick a field goal? I mean,
Yeah, they honestly shot themselves. Because honestly, they shot themselves in the foot. Because if they would have kicked the field goal, went into overtime, and won, they still would have been in contention to go to Atlanta for the SEC championship game.
exactly. And, now you got Ole Miss beating you. So, up next, we are going to be doing number 3 Iowa. Well, now they're number 2, beating then number 4 Penn State, 23-20. Did you ever get to watch anything on that game?
No, the only game I watched was Alabama because I was at work.
Yeah. Well, see, here's the thing about Iowa. Since they've been in the top 10, they've been getting more eyes on like their tradition and their kind of culture.
Yeah.
And I never knew their tradition about waving to the children's hospital.
Oh
And
yeah, I knew about that. Always thought that was pretty cool.
I didn't even know the children's hospital was literally a stone's throw away from the stadium.
Oh yeah.
And so I saw that and I was like, you know what? That's honestly a real wholesome tradition compared to other traditions around college football.
Yeah.
I'm kind of rooting for Iowa a little bit.
Okay, I'm gonna call cap on that. I know who you're really rooting for. You're rooting for Cincinnati.
True, Cincinnati and Coastal Carolina, because me and you have been watching them for a couple seasons now.
Yeah, I think this is the second season in a row we've been watching them and seeing how good they've been.
Exactly. And so seeing Cincinnati at number 3 or 4, 1, is really nice to see. It's weird, but really nice.
Yeah, because I know Coastal. Speaking of Coastal Carolina, they're ranked number 15, and Cincinnati's 3. And I feel like, especially Cincinnati, they're getting the recognition that they've been deserving.
Yeah, Cincinnati has been coming up for a couple years now, and they're finally blossoming into what they have been wanting to be. Up next is the Red River rivalry. You have Oklahoma versus Texas, and we'll be getting that rivalry and that tradition moving to the conference as soon as next year.
Oh yeah, I'm ready to see. I'm ready for them to come to the SEC.
Yeah, and it seems like this was the largest rally in the history of this rivalry.
Yeah, I think I've seen something about that. Yeah.
And Oklahoma ended up beating out Texas 55-48.
Yeah, because I was kind of keeping my eye on that because would check the score and stuff, and they like Texas was up big on them, and I'm like, I think when I looked, it was like 35-17 or something like that, and I'm like, Texas is beating Oklahoma.
Well, it's just like I don't know if you sent me a message talking about that or something like that, and I think I texted back to you or someone. I was like, honestly, they haven't been the same since '09.
Yeah,
I
you told me
mean,
that.
say that again.
Yeah, that's what you told me.
I mean, yeah, it was a good game, but like you let Oklahoma come back. Like that's on you.
Yeah, it's one of those things to where it's a shame that they let them come back like that, but I'm not surprised.
Yeah, maybe Western Arkansas will do better when they move to the Southeastern Conference.
Hopefully.
Yeah. And now our main event of this podcast. The craziest thing that has happened in week 6. Um Now honestly no one saw really coming until it really happened. Number 1 at the time, Alabama gets stunned by a at the time unranked Texas A&M on a final field goal. Um Randy, I'll let you go first.
Honestly, I was highly disappointed in Alabama because of the way they played. The on it and the I'm not gonna sit here and trash the team or anything because that's not how I am. But the O line played terrible. Could not defend Bryce at all the whole game. Defense played terrible. Could not stop A&M on honestly anything, and they didn't even start to play good until the third quarter. And by that time, it was a little too late.
It really was. Um
And then on offense, they would have the ball and it'll be 2nd and 2, 3rd and 1, or 2nd and goal from the 1 or something like that. And they would pass. They would not give it to Brian Robinson and let him run it in for a
yeah,
first down or for a touchdown.
yeah, it just didn't make any sense of like how they were playing.
Yeah. And I'm
Oh,
just like, why aren't you running the ball? Because it's like you don't even want to win at this point.
yeah, it was a strange game because when we went to the Ole Miss Alabama game, I told you that Bryce Young's main problem was he gets flustered when he gets rushed.
And I feel like A&M looked at those tapes and figured that out.
Yeah, because every time he gets, the defense running up on him, he makes an irrational
Yeah, and
move.
I'm not gonna sit here and say it's all Bryce Young's fault because
No,
honestly,
no, it's
like I
not because
said,
the offensive line should be holding them back.
exactly. The If the O line would have held them there and wouldn't let them through every down, Bryce Young wouldn't have to be on the run and then make a flustered play.
Exactly, I totally agree. And
And let me tell you something. I've seen, and I'm getting tired of this. You know what I seen earlier?
what?
I saw where someone had posted this. I think it was in a TikTok. Someone on a Alabama message board, okay, said they want Greg Byrne to fire Nick Saban after that game because they're tired of this.
tired of this? Like one game,
Yes.
you act like that person's acting like Nick Saban's been doing this for like at least 2 seasons. Like this was one game.
Exactly. And then you got other people talking down on them, and it's just like, this is why I know y'all are fake fans.
Exactly. Like
Because let me tell you something. In 2000, Alabama's record was 3-8. In 01, they were 7-5. 03, 4-9. 04, 6-6. 06, 6-7. 07, 7-6. And in 2010, 10-3.
exactly.
Like, obviously, you don't know anything prior to 2009.
It's like, yeah, we're kind of spoiled now and not used to losing as much. But just because he loses one game, has one bad night coaching, doesn't call for the man's head.
Yeah, because, hold on, let me find it real quick. Shoot, I had it.
But while you're looking that up, the defense, one of the things about, I thought we had a pretty good defense, and not saying we don't anymore, but they just didn't show up that night. Like you
Yeah.
said, and you could tell by the game-winning drive by Texas A&M that Alabama couldn't hold them back. They just kept going, trucking down the field. Only thing that was good about our team that night was our special teams.
And let me I couldn't find it, but let me tell you, I know basically what it says.
All right, man.
Okay, so the reason why I'm hounding on these fans about saying that they need to fire Saban, they need to get rid of him, and stuff like this. Y'all not remember 2015 when 2014 when Alabama lost to Ole Miss,
Yeah,
got to the playoffs? Do you not remember 2012 when Alabama lost to A&M at home? I believe that team won a national championship. I'm not certain, but I believe that team won a national championship.
yeah, because
And in
that was a
2015,
Johnny Manziel Texas A&M.
at 2014, I believe that team got in the playoffs. In 2015, I believe that team got in the playoffs and won. In 2016, I believe that team got to the playoffs as well.
Yeah, like
There's
it's
not a
one of
team that Alabama since 2012, except for 2020, there's not a team that Alabama hasn't had since 2012 that hasn't had one loss and gotten to the playoffs.
yeah, exactly. Like it's just
People
some
just
fans don't think about the logic behind what they're saying before they post it, because it's like, read that now. Your warning currently, depending on your view on championships, is the second greatest or is the greatest coach at the University of Alabama, and you want him fired for one bad game.
because let me tell you something. I'm in an Alabama group on Facebook, and someone said, if you don't agree with another friend's opinion, why can't you just scroll on by?
Well,
And
don't
I'm
post
like,
it in here.
exactly. And I'm sorry that I went up. I feel like I went on a little Nick Saban rant there.
I mean, it's fine, but like, if you just read the streaks that were snapped that night, and put it on right next to that comment, it makes it look even more of a ridiculous statement. Before that night, we had 100 straight wins versus unranked opponents. Our last loss was in
2019 against Auburn.
no 2007.
Oh, I thought you just meant the last loss.
No, the against ranked opponents.
Oh,
We had 100 straight wins against ranked opponents until Texas A&M this year. But our last loss to an unranked opponent was in 2007. And
okay.
that was the longest streak in AP poll era history.
And see, like I was saying, our last loss, Alabama's last loss, they haven't lost a game since 2019 against Auburn in 2 years.
Yeah, we were on a 19-game win streak. If we would have won, that would have been game 20.
And it makes the first former Saban assistant to beat Nick Saban.
Which it took 25 games to get a loss.
Exactly.
I mean, we're talking Undertaker streak numbers here at this point. Like it took 24 coaches going down before one coach figured it out and barely came out with the win. Because that fan probably feels like we got blown out. We lost by 3 points.
By the way, that stat I told you about Mississippi State, Ole Miss, Baylor, Florida State.
Yeah.
Weirdly enough, the last time I told you that last time that Alabama, Clemson, and Ohio State wasn't in the top four was that year, and those 4 teams were in it.
Yeah.
Weirdly enough, Jimbo Fisher was the coach at Florida State.
I mean, it's one of those things to where he will always have that notch on his belt.
Oh yeah, especially if he doesn't ever get defeated by another assistant.
Exactly. Jimbo was the only one to crack the code, and he barely did at that point.
For real. I got a not to get off topic, but I got an interesting fact about Georgia this season.
All right, random Georgia fact, go.
Let me do some math. You know how many points that the Georgia defense has allowed in their first 6 games?
How much?
They've allowed 30 points.
Ooh.
3 against. Okay, so the first one was Clemson. They had 3 points. And in other games, that Clemson's averaging 25.8. UAB scored 7. In other games, it's 27.8. South Carolina scored they had the most at 13, and in other games they're scoring 24.8 points a game. Vandy scored 20. In other games, 0 against Georgia. Arkansas was averaging 35.8 points a game. Georgia they had 0 points against Georgia, and in other games Auburn had 40, and they only scored 10 against Georgia Saturday.
Oh, wow.
I just thought that was a pretty cool fact about Georgia's defense, that they've only allowed 30 points this entire season.
Georgia's a beast this season.
Oh yeah.
And it's kind of worrisome because say Alabama wins out, we still got to face them. And honestly, I don't think this year a 2-loss Alabama could get in.
I don't think so.
But
the way,
I believe that a 1-loss Georgia would still be able to get in.
see, I'm gonna tell you something. The first playoff rankings comes out November 2nd.
All right.
And the last one comes out December 5th, which would be the day after all the conference title games.
Exactly.
So, I honestly could see a 1-loss Alabama ACC champion if they do win, getting into the playoffs.
Yeah, same.
a undefeated Cincinnati goes undefeated. I can see an undefeated Cincinnati and an undefeated Iowa getting in.
Yeah.
But here's the thing: if Iowa loses in the Big Ten championship game to another one loss Big Ten champion, do you put that one loss Big Ten champ in, or do you put Georgia in? Because think how dominant Georgia's been.
I think it was, and here's the thing, I don't like saying this because I would rather only champions being allowed into the playoffs. I'm sorry, but if you're not a champion, then you shouldn't be in there. And that's controversial, but I'm like, those teams earned it.
Yeah.
But anyway, I would still say probably a Georgia would get in.
Yeah. Because here's the thing.
Because they want to, and this is how they would set it up. They would have Iowa, Cincinnati, and then you would have a rematch Alabama, Georgia, because they don't, if the whole reason for the playoffs was so it wouldn't be a one conference championship game.
Exactly.
And so, and plus, more than likely, people would be rooting for Georgia nationally.
Yeah, because they're like the Alabama's equivalent to the Patriots, where like when Atlanta played New England for the Super Bowl that year, most of the country was rooting for Atlanta.
Yeah, exactly. Because, you know, Alabama is a giant with some other teams among the college football landscape. Um, but yeah, so I could see a one-loss Georgia going in, and that would make a lot of people mad. But the way they would make it would probably be.
I would say if there's a one loss Big Ten champ, that Georgia will get in over a one loss Big Ten champ just because of how dominant Georgia's been. But if there's a undefeated Big Ten champ, I would put them in and kick Georgia out.
Well, see, here's the difficulty. Even with the undefeated Big Ten, I still feel they would put Georgia in.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because I think Georgia would be the only one that could go in there and knock out Alabama in the playoffs to make sure they don't advance to the finals.
I can see that. That's them saying basically putting in them in to make sure Alabama doesn't win again.
Exactly, because definitely if it's a close game in the conference championship, they're going to be like, yeah, put them back in. They deserve another chance. It was close.
But if it's a blowout,
if it's a blowout, no, a Big Ten team's coming in.
yeah,
Yeah,
I can see them definitely. If it's a blowout, they're like, well, Georgia. They will basically treat Georgia like they treated Texas A&M last year.
oh yeah.
Which I mean, a lot of people were voting A&M in there, but the thing was they lost in the head-to-head matchup against Alabama.
Yeah, they didn't deserve to be in there.
Yeah. Now, I mean, but I mean, I can understand Georgia though.
So before the podcast, you called and you found something on Instagram that was interesting. A stat. You wanna bring that up?
Did I send it to you?
Uh, I have the graphic on my phone because I saved the picture, but I thought you wouldn't want to bring that up.
Hold on, let me look for it because I don't remember. I was about to say you can send it to me. I can talk about it because I don't remember.
All right. Let me send it to you. There you go.
Oh yeah. After LSU beat Mississippi in 2011. After LSU, Alabama beat Mississippi State 24-7. And in 2012, after the loss to A&M, Bama beat Western Carolina 49-0. After the loss to Auburn in 2013, Bama lost to Oklahoma 45-31 in the Sugar Bowl. In 2014, after losing to Ole Miss, they beat Arkansas 14-13. After losing to Ole Miss again in 2015, they beat Louisiana Monroe 34-0. In 2017, after losing to Auburn, they beat Clemson 26-14 in the Sugar Bowl. 2019, after losing to LSU, they beat Mississippi State 38-7. In 2019, after they lost to Auburn, they beat Michigan 35-16 in the Citrus Bowl. It's just
so like, what does that stat kind of tell us?
It basically tells us that Alabama is, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They're 7-1 when losing a game in the postseason, basically.
No telling what they went through that week, and they didn't want that to happen again.
Yeah, because I mean, like I said, they're 7-1. Like I said, after losing a game, they're 7-1 in the postseason.
Yeah.
So I mean, I'm not saying that Alabama will go to the championship game and win, but I'm saying is they're probably going to win in the postseason because the stats don't lie.
Yeah, true. So, let's look at the last of the undefeated teams. We have 13 undefeated teams left. We have Wake Forest. We have University of Texas at San Antonio. We have SMU, San Diego State, Oklahoma State, Oklahoma, Michigan State, Michigan, Kentucky, Iowa, Georgia, Coastal Carolina, and Cincinnati.
And the interesting thing is, this is the first time since 1950 that Kentucky starts the season 6-0.
And see, here's the big thing. We are guaranteed less than 13 undefeated teams after week 7. Because I would consider it the main event of college football this week.
Is Kentucky, Georgia.
Kentucky, Georgia. 2 undefeateds go in, 1 comes out.
And see, here's the thing. Kentucky beats Georgia. Hold on, let me look at the Kentucky schedule. Because I'm going to pull up their schedule real quick.
All right.
Because Kentucky, after this, is basically a cakewalk. Because they got to play Mississippi State. After Georgia, they play Mississippi State, Tennessee, Vanderbilt, New Mexico State, and Louisville.
This is almost going to determine the East champ almost.
Yeah, because Georgia... oh, by the way, Kentucky has a 4.6% chance to win Saturday.
Well, I mean, if Texas A&M, who's not even ranked, can beat a number 1 team, Kentucky can.
Yeah. So here's the thing. I just told you the schedule for Kentucky.
Right.
There's 2 ways Georgia cannot get into the SEC championship. One being they lose Kentucky Saturday.
Exactly.
The next one, on the 30th, if they lose the number 20, Florida.
Yeah, I'm kind of rooting for Kentucky, though.
Yeah,
I
me
want
too.
Kentucky. I want Kentucky to be that team that beats Georgia.
I do too, because they've never been to an SEC championship game.
And
have-
this
they
might
have-
sound really bad, but considering how young Alabama's team is, how young their team is, I would rather face a Kentucky than a Georgia.
Yeah, me too. But Georgia's got to play Kentucky Saturday, number 20 Florida, Mizzou, at Tennessee, Charleston Southern, and then at Georgia Tech. So besides Kentucky and Florida, the rest of their schedule is basically a cakewalk too. So Saturday determines the SEC East.
I would say that too. I think whoever wins that will be the champs at the end.
Yeah,
Unless Kentucky just goes on a 2-loss run from out of nowhere.
because Alabama's basically got a cakewalk to the SEC championship game as well, because they got to play Mississippi State, Tennessee.
Wait, hold on. I wouldn't say that, because we barely scraped by against Florida at Florida. We
True.
lost to Texas A&M at Texas A&M. We're not good away.
Yeah.
This year.
We got Tennessee. We got at Mississippi State Saturday. At home against Tennessee next week. And on the 6th against LSU, and then New Mexico State, Arkansas, and then at Auburn.
Yeah, and that's the thing is we're home away games are not good for us this year. The only good one was Miami.
Yeah.
But that's basically Bryant-Denny East in Georgia.
Yeah.
So I mean,
it's I think this team is a very young team. This Alabama
it is
team.
a lot of people left for the draft last season.
And this Alabama team's got a lot of growing to do.
Yeah, they do.
Because the starting quarterback is a sophomore.
Yeah.
Most of the O-line for Alabama Thomas are freshmen.
If
I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
But I believe I heard that most of Alabama's O-line are freshmen. So they got a lot of growing to do. And a lot of that's on both sides of the ball.
And I totally agree. Seems like the only thing we really have we're still good at is our special teams.
Yeah.
We don't really have to worry about them that much.
No, not really. I mean, special teams is probably the best.
It's probably ever been, to be honest.
Yeah. Except for maybe a couple players here and there on both sides of the ball, like Malachi Moore and Brian on defense and Brian Robertson on offense.
Yeah. All right, well, we're gonna stop it there. This has been another episode of the Iceberg Lounge. Thank you for listening to us. What do y'all think about Week 6 in college football? We would like to know. Also, if you would like to follow us on our social medias or check us out on YouTube or on Twitch or even on TikTok, all those links will be in the description. Always know God loves you and we love you. And always remember, all to God. We will see you in the next episode.